Welcome to tonight's chat about dreams, all things woo. My name is Heather, and I'm a quantum healer, hypnosis, doing some really cool things. And tonight's chat is all about dreams. And so, when we first started this chat, I was talking about a particular dream that I had actually this week about being indigenous. I did a meditation on some earth connection with Gaia, and I connecting with Gaia anyways. But this particular meditation, for some reason, led me to waking up multiple times during the night. And I remember being indigenous. So whether it was Native American, being Australian, some sort of like native to the land type thing. And that's kind of where we start talking before. And that kind of led to Janelle tapping into something as well. So if you will repeat what you said, because that was really cool.
So it was several days ago, and I believe it was Tuesday that all of a sudden it kind of hit me because I had seen a video or something on Facebook, and when I looked at your face, I was like, "There's Native American all around you," and I thought, just thinking practically on a practical mind, I was thinking well, could this be like her ancestors or whatever? So, it's interesting how that, you know, happens. And I thought, well, I'm going to ask Kim because I don't know her that well. I'm going to ask Kim if she knows anything about her heritage or ancestors. So it's kind
Yeah.
of neat how the synchronicity will happen and so whatever the universe wants you to know, it's just backing up what you already feel from that. It's just giving you the yes, you're on the right path.
Right. It's so cool because I've done, DNA and looked back into my heritage, and nothing Native American stands out. This kind of goes into Kim and I. We were talking about this in another video, but this is something like I've always felt within my soul that I was Native American, even though my blood doesn't show that. And whenever tribal music and drumming and flutes come on, I literally just want to pick up, take my clothes off, and like put on some like whatever the little dress wear that they would do, and I could just see myself dancing around fire. Like I literally could see that when I hear that music. It's so intense for me.
I
Um,
do that too. That is so weird. I love that too.
yeah, it's just like I want to go back to my roots, and I don't have it anywhere in my anywhere in my background from family. So it's very interesting.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, and unless you take real, just tests that test for Cherokee or test for this, they're not going to pick it up. Like an ancestry test or 23andMe is not going to pick it up
Hmm.
because they're not designed to pick up Indian anything.
That makes
But
sense.
but if you do take the tests that are grouped to certain tribes, then you'll get a more accurate picture. So I've got Cherokee in my ancestry that's a verbal um handed down. And then but when I joined the Cherokee Nation, I realized real quickly that they set the standard and they don't believe in any other test. So it's interesting how all
Yeah.
that kind of works.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
don't discount it just yet.
That's awesome to think about. That's really
Well,
Yeah.
cool.
and also, Heather, you love to do clearing of the land and water
Mhm.
and stuff.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah. I got
it's
That's probably been the last, I would say, 8 months. I got called into doing energy work. And that was one of the things is like go outside and connect in. And I get called to go and random, like go down this street, turn here. And then it's like, okay, send it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I always envision like white light coming out of my palms, and I just do what I get guided to do. And I
Mhm.
recently got sent to go to the Atlantic, and just weird stuff. It's like people, you talk about some of this stuff, people will be like, okay, whatever. but I literally got the call to go and like do some work with crystals in the Atlantic Ocean. And I don't know what I did, don't know how it worked, but I did what I was guided to do. And me in water, whoo, my whole body just shakes. And if I close my eyes feel like they're just gonna pop out of my head, and I'm just like vibrating, especially in creek. When I'm in like a creek access, I feel it more with like running water than I do in the ocean. It's so weird. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to the mountains and being in that environment.
Mhm.
Oof,
I
so
wonder
awesome.
if ley lines go down through the water, a lot of them.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Hmm.
I'm sure they do. But you know what? This eerily, another sick, kind of overlapping. But what I'm just sitting back here, I'm like, where's my calendar? But, Kim and I went to, um, up near Cades Cove to Medcalf Bottoms. Sorry, my brain had a brain fart. We went up to Medcalf Bottoms, and so it was a year ago. I believe it was. It was
Mhm.
either a year ago in the fall or in winter because all the leaves were gone. And I've always thought that there's a group of us, which Anne is a part of it, that there's a group of us that is an ancient collective. And that's why we've been drawn together. And so while we were there, I channeled, just spontaneously started channeling that there was this collective and that we were pulling each other back together, and that's why we were meeting up again, and that even 2 years ago, I kept saying, we're a collective. That kept coming up. But while I was channeling um, this information, part of what in my childhood dreams that I was having and visions, sometimes they were awake dreams and some which are more vision oriented or dreams, I've had of me being Native American and having an initiation where the young people are initiated to the white light of the water in a stream. And we're walked down into a stream, and it's in the Appalachian Mountains, so it's in this general area. And that I that trepidation of what will happen. I'm scared, and kind of like you would think the Incas or Mayans or something, some of their rituals, but this was ancient, before America, before all that. And I remember having these dreams in my 20s and walking down and getting partway across, like waist deep in the water, and the white light comes and fills the body, and it's initiation into like a priesthood of sorts. And so go forward to a year ago when we went up there to Medcalf Bottoms, and I started channeling, and I just kind of looked down and I could um, see our other sisters down in Middle Earth. And so at the time of a great uh, cataclysmic time, we heard a shofar horn. We heard a horn that went out for hundreds of miles, and it was a call, um, and that we were called to this cave, and we all were led to go underground into the inner earth. And so half of us that were part of this collective, even back then, half of us stayed in Middle Earth when we reincarnated, and half of us were up here. So um, when we were at Medcalf Bottoms, I literally looked over and I could look down and they were looking back up and they said, "Finally,
Oh, wow.
finally." And so we made contact then. And it was just like all of our hair was standing up on our arms and hair and so they really gave a message that that there's this tension between us where we hold space between Middle Earth and Upper Earth, and we're part of this collective. So I can't help but think that you're a part of the collective by kind of what you're saying now. So it's interesting that we've found each other. So we need to investigate that on a different day.
Absolutely. I felt that in my gut. Oh gosh. That's so awesome.
And there was
Yeah.
more to it, but I'm not going to hijack the show. But there was a lot more to it
Oh,
of
okay.
what, we're meant to do and that kind of thing. But it's definitely would be worth investigating. And Anne is definitely in that. I said that a year ago.
Yeah, you did mention her name.
Yeah. So it's interesting that we have this sisterhood, and I just couldn't believe it. I looked down and they were in a room and it had crystals in it, almost like what you'd envision as like crystal fire, where it was all kinds of crystals and they glowed enough to illuminate. And I saw like a group of like 5 or 6 surrounding this, and they were all looking up, going, "Finally, we can see each other, and we've made contact. We've been waiting for you," is what they said.
Have you
Oh,
seen them anymore, Janelle?
I have touched base with them. They're ready
What do they want
to.
us to do?
I think it would. I think we're supposed to. Yeah, they're saying that they would like to see us to get together to because they have wisdom to impart to us. Because they're saying now that we've been shut off from some truth. We've been shielded from that, and that they can help us to see through that shielding. And they're really more, they've kept their spirituality more than we have. And so I think they're here to help.
Well, maybe they can help us, get in touch with ours more.
Right, right. But it's interesting that you mentioned all that. I didn't mean to start talking about all that, but I just felt like such a resonance that we were all part of the same collective. And I knew when I had the channeling that there were others to come, that others would join in. So it's interesting.
yeah.
Well, now you know Heather's in on it.
I feel it. It's so wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And talk about those crystals. That's literally there's another girl. So we met through doing a session. She lives in Florida, and that's kind of how I got into like more with Gaia was from her session, and we did a past life regression with her, and we're actually together in another life, like currently. Of course,
Mhm.
all life is current, but but it was one that I actually had a dream about, and so, anyways, they confirmed that dream and said that was not a real dream. That was actually showing you. So, when you had this session with her and she was giving me the vision through the session, I was like, I've been there. I've done that. I know exactly what you're talking about. So, that was how we connected. So, when I talk to her, she activates me. And as
Mhm.
I'm going and driving to the beach, this was what, 2 weeks ago, I was texting her. I said, I don't know what it is, but I feel the need that I've got to do something with the water. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I can go with you, but I can't. I'm being called to do on because she lives on the Gulf side, and that storm was coming in, and she was doing that, and I was being guided to do work on the Atlantic side with the storm, and so I was doing that." And as I'm talking, I literally got the vision of like this massive clear quartz coming out of the Atlantic Ocean. It's just trembling like this and just vibrating, and there's white water coming out the side, and it's like
Mhm.
making this sound going woo, woo, and I can't even describe it, but I can feel the vibration of it. And I was like, I didn't even see that till I started talking to you, and I saw that, and it was like that's what you're doing. You're activating it.
Mhm.
Do the thing. And I'm like, doesn't make sense in my 3D mind, but I'm just going to do it because I'm guided to do it. And and then I'm having these dreams about the indigenous stuff. And so I'm like, this is just a
Well,
connection
also
to nature.
when you were at the beach, I told you I had just read that they were talking about in Bermuda, they have a crystal pyramid under the water.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
a total crystal
Mhm.
pyramid. And you said, well,
Mhm.
you said the crystal, and I was like, maybe that's what you were trying to rise up out of the water. Was that
Yeah. I don't know.
pyramid or that
I
pyramid
Right,
saw,
right.
energy or something?
yeah, I saw that like it did have a pyramid to the top of it and it was rising and it was just massive. But yeah. So it was just really cool, the things that we see. And that was a more of a vision. And I don't normally get those kind of visions. Like when I'm writing and stuff, like that it just popped in my head. And I was like, wow, there's something to that. I don't know what it is.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's
That's
been very
cool.
cool.
That's way cool.
Yeah.
Seems
And
like we're
that
getting more visions than dreams anymore.
I know.
Mhm.
No, I've had some wild ones. My last ones have been animals. Most of mine are just out of I have dreams where I'm astral traveling and I know that it's like an astral travel because I can see myself. I'll tell you a really crazy one that I've had. A dream that I had was this is whenever I was tapping into, are there other versions of myself here? So same soul, but a different consciousness, whatever. And they were like, yeah, you want to see one? So I literally saw myself um, as an African American woman. I felt like I was in like Chicago. I was in an alleyway and I saw this white man who had long hair and he was like greasy and he had it in a ponytail. And I was standing there watching her and she was in a mini skirt and she had on this like top and it was showing her boobs a little bit, but she was coming out of like I felt like I like out of a club or something. And in this alleyway, this guy tried to attack her. And so he gets her on the ground and I'm watching all this happen and I'm like, what am I doing here? And I in my head I hear jump in, jump in. You need to help her jump in. And I was like, what? What do you mean jump in? And it was like, don't question, just do it. And somehow I literally imagined that I'm like, I close my eyes in my dream and I jump in and I just like plop in. And then I'm seeing him as I'm her, right? And I can see him. And it was like on the count of three, both of you kick. And it was like 1, 2, 3, kick. And we kicked and the guy flew and he hit like a trash can. It felt like the dumpster and he fell on him or whatever. And I popped out of her and I was like, run, run. And she takes off running. And I was like, what in the world just happened? And I just felt myself get sucked back, right? A week later, I have a friend, Jessica. I was hoping she was going to come on, but Jessica was talking to me and she goes, Heather, there is someone trying to connect in with you. And I'm like, who? She said, do you know an African American version? And I was like, okay, this is getting weird. And she said that she was in dream state. She was asleep right now. She was in dream state and she remembers me helping her and that I am going to be working with her in dream state with her awakening and all the things. And I was like, this is just blows my mind. I mean, I'm just like, how did you know that? So that was one wild thing. That was right when I started questioning like who I am and I was asking you shall receive, show me some lives, show me something that I need to be aware of, all these things. Didn't know what I was getting myself into and that was one of them that was really wild. Anybody else want to share?
My dog's going crazy.
Yeah.
He wants in very bad.
Loves the
I
energy.
know. I have to lock the door because they can get in my little spirit room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's out here scratching. Tony's supposed to be taking care of him, but it's not
Okay.
happening too well.
So wild. Animals are crazy when it comes to doing this stuff. I was telling Kim, like, my cats, when I do outside, I realized in this last 2 weeks that I do more, I get more flow when I'm in movement. And I didn't know that until literally I was walking and I put it to test. And then I heard a source go, yeah, flow comes when you move. That's the whole point, which kind of ties into this Native American thing, like having to move. And so I do most of my videos walking. And my animals, like if I ever sit down, they are all in my face. They're always like jumping on me. And they're so a lot of times I have videos with all my cats like all over me. My dogs want to grab me and like do crazy, like, come here, give me some love. So yeah, the animals definitely can feel vibrations and they love to do it during sessions. Have you had that, Kim?
Oh
I have to
yeah.
tell people like,
Oh
get
yeah.
your animals out. They'll say, oh, my cats won't bother me. My dogs won't bother me.
They do. They want to lay right on top
The,
of you,
the
especially with all
cats will
that
get,
energy.
yeah, they'll get right in the camera and be
Hello.
like, what
Speaking
is going
of
on?
movement and somatics, I've been really looking into somatics. I just started therapy again with a somatic therapist, and I gave that somatic course that you've started. And I need to start it again. But I just watched this video, which I knew this, but I had watched this video or watched a video similar to it like a year ago. And it was talking about shaking. Have you seen like the animals, like when any animal in the wild will shake after anything traumatic has happened,
Yep.
to like get all of like that trauma out of the body so it doesn't store in their body. And I just thought that that was like so cool. I'm like, okay, well, we should really incorporate that into our lives and that should be more well known. And then it was talking about how, you know, indigenous people, they would dance around the fire, and witches would have, dance around the fire, and all these different cultures would have different kinds of dances that they would do. And how in modern day, I mean, people still dance, but it used to be so ingrained into like everyday life, into their practices, and it would just be magical if we could, incorporate that as a society more.
Hmm. Yeah. I even saw a post. It was talking about, when we look at people when they twerk as such a
Mm,
bad thing, but that's activating. I mean, that's releasing energy in your lower chakras, right?
mhm,
And then I literally pulled out of my oracle deck today about standing in your power, which is so ironic about the crows and spiders. We'll talk about that in a second. But I pulled a card today and it was literally like stepping into your power and stepping into that divinity. And that was one of the movements that I've got. It's called Dance. Cosmic Dancer is the name of my deck. And like you have to have movement with it. And this one was to literally do with the twerking move to stand in your divine power. And I thought, wow, we look at that as such a bad thing, but it really does awaken that part and move stagnant energy in those lower chakras.
mhm. And it's also crazy because it's like, I, Marissa, by the way, to all of you guys, I'm newly awakened like last year. It's been almost a year. So learning all these new things and really seeing how the matrix, how the world has really like formed our belief systems. So for me, like, I love all music, but I have seen that like rap culture is frowned upon, you know, um, by more religious um, communities, I guess. And that's where I feel like they kind of targeted twerking, you know? And so then with that, it became more of like an evil thing because it's connected to music that is not, that is deemed like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Deemed like evil,
Yeah. Hmm.
And so then it creates such a resistance all over the board. Like even for me, like I've never been religious, but just as society, like it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like attacking women in general.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just crazy to see how that plays out in like so many different aspects of our lives.
Well, think about it. I mean, if you go in and turn on some music and start dancing, that raises my vibration. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I feel like a good mood after that because anytime I feel like sad or something's, just in a funk, I can crank up some tunes and start dancing and singing and acting silly, and pretty soon I'm pretty vibrational high. So
Mhm.
that makes total sense.
Well, I
There was
think it's
actually,
a frequency also. I think like the other side of the coin is what would be a high vibe frequency as far as song or genre. And I don't think you can pigeonhole like just rap is bad or just
mhm,
this
mhm.
or just or hard rock or metalheads or because they're all different forms of frequency. And so in that, um, they may be what may be good for you is not necessarily what might
Mhm.
be good for someone else. I mean, studies have shown that brains are changed in heavy metal, that even the chemical makeup of a brain is changed during heavy metal, you know, music. And so it is good to bring it back to, um, like let's say worldwide, all of the bells worldwide, and all the churches, the
Mhm.
Liberty Bell, any bell you can think of gives off a frequency that is a higher vibration, and really, is very important, as far as like music or ancient, hitting a gong or any of that, so that's very important. So I guess I'm getting at, and I'm not saying that you do have to be concerned about what you're hearing and what's coming in your body and that kind of thing. So, but it definitely any kind of dancing and moving that energy definitely is a big thing.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that it's important. There's so many different genres of music and we're all different. And I think that there's also duality. There's like a spectrum of with everything in life, so what might resonate with me and raise my vibration or what might make me feel seen or heard would be completely different than the next person. And that's what's so beautiful is that we're all so different, but we all have collectives. There's collectives all over that we can have the people that we resonate with the most, which is so beautiful. And also within music, like there could be the one genre and there's someone who's there to, because I definitely think that, music and writing music is channeled, and so there's people who channel, music that will help the collective. For me personally, recently, Jelly Roll, holy moly, his new album his is just like made me feel so seen and heard. And I'm like, I know that it's helped so many other people too, which I love that as well because like the stigma of like who he was and used to be and like that everybody can grow is like so big to show people that like, hey, you can come from anywhere, you can do bad things and you can still be redeem yourself and be a good person because there's a good person at the core of all of us. Um,
Well, we do that, Heather and I, when we go into sessions. I mean, we go in, put the light in those entities and those,
mhm.
other things that we've come up with. And once they start getting their light, they are just like, so apologetic. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I needed, fed or whatever they needed at the time. And you're just like, okay, and they apologize and go on to source. And, transmute into something beautiful and come back, So, yeah, anybody can do that. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
some kind of entity or demon can do it, then any person can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Most definitely.
So the one thing that in this little thing that I did this afternoon with these streams, I thought was really cool that we can share with anybody that wants to watch this on a replay for YouTube is about, and this came through actually with a channeling that I did for myself prior to this video that I watched was like, our dreams um, are our own. So, we have love language, but we also have dream language. And this was something that I learned today. I didn't know how to articulate that in my own personal channeling that I did, but it makes total sense in that, you can read about these so-called dream interpretations and a lot of them don't resonate. And sometimes like when I've looked up some of them recently, it's actually brought more fear. And I'm like, I don't I didn't get anything bad feeling out of these dreams, so I don't know what to believe. And um but what I'm learning from with these dreams is like this is where you tap into this dream and know that it's for a reason. And so setting the intention is very key as well. And so, it could be that you're trying to work out something through your day. So you may have seen something or experienced something. So you dream about that to kind of figure out your next tactic or whatever it is. And then sometimes we ask about like a message and then we don't realize that it's a message. And so we get a dream, we're like, what the heck was that? You know, or I've asked, is setting the intention, like, I want to see other lifetimes. Or, and then I got into, I want to see off planet stuff. And then I've wanted to see, is there a parallel life that I have currently? And ask and you shall receive. So it was literally, they would show me. Um, and so now it's about being more persistent with the journaling because knowing that they come in stages sometimes we may get like a piece of information here and then another piece of information here and then a month later we get another piece and you're like, wait a minute, I had a dream about that. What in the world? So there's this really cool app and I just found out about it today called Day One, and it's an app that you can download. And it's a way that, especially for those that are in the digital world, I write all of my journals down, but literally I have about five of them strode everywhere. And I'm like, I got to write this down. So I just write it down somewhere. Um, and what I find is like, I can't remember where I wrote it. So for those that are into the digital, I'm really going to try this Day One app out, and because you can hashtag. So like when I had my dream last week about
Mm.
polar bears, you can hashtag polar bear, and then I had a
Oh.
dream about a snake, hashtag snake, and so when I have again, I can literally go to the hashtag, and maybe things will start unfolding. Um, and I thought that was a really cool thing to do. And then the other part that I learned today, which was so cool, and I have not really even pinpointed this, is that our dreams are going to be more intense around the moon. So everything is based on moon. So it's the lunar phases, and it talks about. It says that you need to look up the day that you were born. What was the moon cycle? Was it a full moon? Was it a quarter moon? Was it waning, waxing? You can tie into that. Like you may notice that you have more intense dreams around that particular moon phase. And I've never
Mm.
paid attention to that. And I'm like, I'm going to have to start being very meticulous, especially my dreams are being so vivid and so like weird lately. And I noticed that my animal dreams that I just had about the polar bear and that the snake was during the what was it, the eclipse that we had. So I remember that, and that's when I was at the beach and I was really tapped into Gaia. um my polar bear dream, I'll tell you about that one. That was really cool. I don't remember the beginning of it, but I was with my son, my mom, and my husband now. And I remember a minivan. I remember we had to leave because something happened. And I said the words Greenville, Tennessee. Don't know what that means. So I wrote it down. We got in the car, we left. And whenever we were traveling to this Greenville, Tennessee, I was like, we shouldn't go there because it's freezing cold. And we went anyways. And when we were driving, it reminded me when I've been to Colorado, it was rocks, and then it was the road, and then it dropped off, and there's more rocks, and then something had me to look, and when I did, there was a creek, well, a river going through, and when I looked down, there were polar bears in the creek, and they were laying like this, floating. I mean, just floating, chilling, and I was like, am I seeing polar bears in the river? What the heck? And then my son like runs off the road a little bit, and so I get drawn back again. I'm like, stay on the road. It's a huge drop off, and I look again in the huge drop off, and there is this huge rock formation in the center of this river, and it has an overhang. And from the weirdest thing was there was two polar bears, and they were standing on their heads. And as they were standing on their heads, it was like they were doing some kind of like mudra with their hands. And I was like, what in the world? And then he ran off the road again, and it woke me up. And so I was like, and I still remember everything. Like I could still remember it right now how big they were and all the things. And I was like, what in the world? I was like, I got to write this down. I don't know what this means. But like that was one of the dreams that I've had recently during a lot of this the eclipse. The moon was being all chaotic, and me working in the water, all of that was happening around that time. And I was like, wow. So I don't know what's going to come of that, but that was another crazy dream that I've had recently.
That was
Well,
really cool.
I feel like the dreams are giving us messages, um, and they're kind of being hand delivered through to your subconscious state. From a chaotic world where we're having trouble getting those messages and pulling them out of the ether because of just being a mom or being busy or just life, or on a more esoteric level, as light workers, we're constantly being abused and and sent nasty stuff, nasty grams from the world of whatever out there that doesn't like our light and the darkness. And so I think if you look at it, like if you were in World War II and you were the good guys, the Allies, and you were trying to get a big message across, but you could only send a few symbols or a few words every few days, and that it was your hope that the ones that were behind the lines doing the work, that they would put all of these symbols together so that they could get the message unadulterated. And I think it's a good idea that if you get, like you said, your polar bear, or or if you heard a word is important, or a sentence or a phrase, the symbology is hugely important. But also the words. And I think if you do some type of order where you put your symbols and then you put your words, and then you just do that, um, maybe even on a 28-day cycle or 30, whatever you figure out, and then go back to it with a fresh mind without looking at it for that time. Just be obedient, writing it down. I think you'll see that that source is sending those messages, and those are the important messages that we're getting in, because we're getting a lot of interference, is what I firmly believe. And so those messages they're coming across the dark lines and giving us hope, uh, And I think we need to take those very seriously when spirit sends us those messages.
Yeah, I actually had a really cool dream that I think it's also for me personally, talking to people and like just having a soundboard sometimes is like how I am able to process things or can see the picture, overall bigger picture in it. So me and Heather were talking, just casual conversation, probably a week or two ago about the Titanic. And I was like, yeah, when I was like really little, I loved the Titanic, like 2 years old watching the Titanic, which I was obsessed with it, watch it over and over again. Anyways, in this dream, I had a dream where I was on the Titanic, but it was not, it was like I wasn't there in that time era. I was in this time era. It was like a newer boat, but like I knew it was the Titanic, and I'm just on the very front, and I can see it. There's a boat here, and we're steer off so we don't hit this boat. But they didn't see the iceberg, and it was just exactly like in the movie. But the thing that really stood out was that I knew exactly what was happening because I had seen the Titanic before, right? So, and I was aware of this in my dream. And so I'm standing there and I'm looking at the ice, freezing ice cold water. And I'm like, I have to jump. I have to jump. Like I have to jump. If I don't jump, then I'm gonna, sink down with the boat. And there's no choice. Like either way, I'm gonna get cold in this water. I'm gonna be freezing. But this is like the only way I'm gonna have a chance to survive. So I go and jump and I wake up before I even hit the water. But it was, to me, the message was, you have to do what you're going to do. So for me, I have been, oh my gosh, I just looked at the time. It's 5:55 where I'm at. I don't know why. I was just like, for some reason, called to look at the freaking time. It's 5:55. um, anyways, I have been scared to like, I mean, I put myself on social media. I was called right when I first awakened to start making TikToks. And I did. I didn't know what I was supposed to make them about. So I've been making TikToks, just nothing super like messages or anything, just to get myself comfortable on TikTok. But I've been really called to start sharing what I'm passionate about. And then that dream pops up. And so to me, it was just like, Marissa, like, you're going to do it regardless. Why not do it now and like get ahead? Get ahead than being sunk down with everyone else, or like sunk down, and it'll be harder to survive or harder to thrive. So I thought that was a cool dream. I just had this a couple nights ago.
I think that's an interesting dream, just as you were talking, because the Titanic, if you look at it from a conspiracy angle, the men who opposed the Federal Reserve had just had a meeting on Jekyll Island right before the Titanic. And then a few months later, they were all on the Titanic. And so there's some that wonder if there was an iceberg or if there was an explosion. And some people that were eyewitnesses heard an explosion. And so and of course, all the ones opposed to the Federal Reserve, um, they perished. And so that's a good way to get rid of any dissenters. And so I'm thinking now, as you were talking, um, that maybe that Titanic represents the money system that they didn't want the controllers to implement, which has
Mm,
done so much damage, and
my
that
goodness.
maybe that's bringing all of that up, that symbolism, and that you jumped off and broke that cycle. You did not go down with the ship. So I don't know. That's encouraging to me.
I just got chills. So also agreed because I quit my like corporate job in February, And I have just really had trust in the universe and that like so right now I'm nannying, but they lowered my hours. And so I'm like, okay, wow, I have more free time. So I should really get going. And it's so funny because I have really felt within the last year, I have been called to really step into my power. And just recently, me and Heather were talking about how um at least this is how I feel is there's like three different steps of like knowing. You know, it's like the first one you like, oh, you know, like you see it, you understand it, like you know that that's true. And then there's like the second knowing of like, okay, you see it, you feel it, you know that's true. It's like a just a deeper understanding. And then like there's a third understanding that's like integrating into your life. You fully embody it and like know the truth. And I feel like that's with most things. And I just lost my train of thought with that. Um, oh, with me standing in my power, I have I was really guided in the beginning of my journey to cut off like certain people and friends and stuff, and it was so hard. It was heartbreaking. It was like heart-wrenching. I felt like I lost my whole entire life because I had to cut out like the people that I've had that I thought were my support system all my life. And then I also lost, my best friend as well, that actually is what started all of it. Um, and just recently, I was talking to a friend where it's the complete opposite. She used to have her power, or like she used to really embody her own power and got into a relationship and really lost it. And so I was trying to explain to her, and I was like, just had like a moment of realization of like, wow, I've really been standing in my power and like realize that. But it's so funny that there's, just because you step into your power in one way, there's so many other ways you can do it too. And so now I'm trying to embody that with TikTok, like stepping into my power on TikTok and trying to really get to or the like the root of why it's so scary on TikTok. Like, and me and Heather really was it. I think it was us, or was it? I don't know if it was us or maybe in therapy, just talking about perfectionism.
Talking about that.
Like today, I recorded multiple videos, but in my mind, I'm like, how does this supposed to make sense to other people? Because I get off topic so much. And I'm like, sometimes I'll watch other videos of people who go off topic all the time. I'm like, this is how my brain works. Like, I can watch your video
Mhm.
because I can keep up with you. And so for me, it's like, gosh, I need to just put it out there and my people will find me. And it's like, I know that, but I'm not at that like knowing yet, that third one where you embody it. It's like I'm in that middle one. It's like, I know that, but it's like you're stepping into your power and embodying that third knowing. It's just, and then I'll have like moments of it. I feel like that's where the second one is. It's like no moments of it, and you got to really take advantage of those.
Well, I'll
And
add to that because that came from yesterday's session with you as well. And I've been seeing crows and spiders.
mm-hmm.
And I mean crows as in like a whole tree of crows just like doing their thing. And I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of crows. And then it's been um I went riding motorcycles last weekend and they were on the side of the road and they wouldn't move. There's like intentionally one here, another one here, and I'm like, "What are you doing? This is just so weird." And they're outside and they're crowing at nighttime, and I'm like, "What is going on? I know this is meant for something. This is not just a random okay crows here. It's drawing my attention." And then I've got spiders. I've never had issues with spiders, but are wolf spiders, and they freak me out, and they're big and they're hairy, and I'm like, I know that you're a soul, and I know I'm not supposed to kill you. And I looked it up, and it's like it's the king snake of the spider world. And I'm like, okay, I will embrace the fact that you are doing good, but listen, don't you jump on me. you know, like keep your distance. But then I'll get it and I'll go and take it outside. And I've gotten to the point where I can grab it and I can take it and I'm okay with that. But I'm like, there's something about seeing them because it's not random and I believe that everything is for a significant thing and so it's like getting my attention. So we asked in her session like what is the
Because I've been
message
seeing the same
behind,
thing.
yeah, crows and spiders? What is the message for us? And they literally, her higher self said, crows are to stand in your power. It's a reminder. And I was like, I feel that right now. And then the spiders was to release the fear. And your higher self elaborating was like, why are you so scared of a little old spider? You're bigger than that. And then what came through to me, literally, as soon as that happened, it was like I got an instant download. And it's like, because we're bigger than that. We're a speck of God's source in this human body. And we fear all this stuff, but yet we are the light. And it was like, embody that. And I was like, whoa, that was intense. That was really cool. That was literally an epiphany for me yesterday about standing in our power. And that goes into the other thing, Marissa, is the fact that your medicine is meant for other people. And so you resonate with that thought, or how your brain works. Think about all those people out there that are not going to resonate with me, but they would resonate with you. Every one of us has our own medicine that we
Mhm.
came here for a significant purpose to deliver.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter how many times that I talk to these people, they're not going to resonate with me because they're waiting for you. And we each have
Mhm.
those gifts individually. And that's what makes us so special, right? And that we have to appreciate that within ourselves, because we are all gifted these particular gifts for a significant reason. And I believe that we make these contracts on the other side. So these people that are coming to us, they just resonate with us because we've already made this commitment. And until we actually embody ourselves and stand in our power and stop fearing, because there is no darkness when there's light,
Mhm.
you know? And I've always been scared of the dark and I never understood it. And they literally have told me in sessions, Heather, why are you afraid? Because when there's darkness and you're the light, there is no darkness anymore. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
that's awesome. Which is why I resonate so much when Kim and I do these sessions with Spirit Release. It's like, I don't have fear of that part. I resonate with that so hard. And I know that we are on a planet of duality and we have to have the light for the dark. And if it was only light, it would be so easy and it would be so boring at the same time. Yes, the darkness has went too far. They've said that in sessions, but they're there to play a part and it's to show us what we don't want, right? And so we take that as a lesson. And for those of us that's getting the calling to eradicate the darkness, and all it is we turn that darkness in back into light and send it back on its way to do whatever it is that they need to do on their next part of their journey.
Absolutely.
I want to add, Heather, because you got that course that you sent me, and um, I really wanted to do it, but I didn't have. So one of the things, after my awakening, I had to, or I broke up with my boyfriend, which ultimately led to me having to file bankruptcy. So, and it all kind of plays in with lessons I need to learn with spending and whatnot. And I really think that this is Source's way of having me show like to manifest things and show that like I can have trust and faith within the universe and how to manifest. And it's incredible because I totally can. But there's this course that's $97. So yesterday I went to Corn Bellies, which is like a not even a maze. It's like this big old thing in Utah that they do for Halloween fall time. Anyways, took my niece and nephew there. While I was there, my anytime I spend money, I always say like, it comes back to me times 10 or whatever. And then I've been trying to manifest money for this course. Anyways, I got my hours cut, but they asked me yesterday, right after I spent money, because I've been completely avoiding spending money. And right after I spent money on some food for us, my boss texted me and she's like, "Hey, I know this is super last minute, but can you come in and work today or tomorrow?" I was like,
Awesome.
Yes, let me just make sure I have a car because I also don't have a car right now. And so now I have money for the course. Here's one thing though, is that they usually pay me on like Cash App, but they gave me cash this time. And so what I'm trying to, because I really look at everything as like there's a reasoning behind it. Okay, so there's like two options, like here's cash, so here's cash, go save it, put it, like put it away, because I really think that that's like one of my lessons is like not to just spend frivolously, also manifest. I don't know, it's real confusing sometimes because I'm trying to figure out exactly what the lessons are daily. But or is it like, hey Marissa, here's an extra step to make sure if you're really committed to what you really want to do, because you like I have to go to like a Dollar General or something to get it onto Cash App to get onto my card. And in Utah, we just don't have many of those. I don't even know where one is. When
The
I was in
Dollar
New
General.
Mexico,
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
they're like a dime a dozen over here in Tennessee.
yeah. In
Oh,
Utah,
yeah.
they're I know when I was in New Mexico, there was two of them within this small little teeny tiny town that I was in.
There's just a
So
10.
yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I have to go figure out that. But now that I'm talking, I think it's the second one.
Well, the other thing that, most of us are getting really hard right now is that having that trust and faith. And I literally did a channeling, what was it, last week? I think I told both you, Kim and Marissa, but I got like this hard, a tough love channeling from myself. And it was like, quit saying that you're going to have trust and have faith. Prove
And
it.
just do it.
Yeah. Show me what trust and faith is, because I always say it. But then when it comes down to the nitty gritty and the wire, I'm like, I think I just need to take over because y'all freaking me out. But like tonight was prime example. I literally was going to come on here and I was like, I'm going to not be prepared, not worry about it. And then this course fell in my lap and I was like, oh my gosh. And it led to some cool things, which we definitely can get into some like talk about all the things. And I don't know where that's going to lead. But it was literally at the wire and it was like, see, everything works out. It's wonderful.
So let me ask everybody, do you know if you are dreaming or if you're having a vision or if you astral travel? Do you know if you're doing any of
Hmm.
these three?
I
Mm-mm.
have waking visions more than I do dreams.
So your visions are when you're awake.
Yeah, I'm more like,
Downloads or something?
yeah, I mean, that happens, but I think like if I do both, like in the middle of the day, I have just where I'll space out a waking
Mm.
vision, but also that's real prevalent with people where it's that time between you're waking up and you actually wake. So it's
Right.
not really a dream, but it's not, it's that where you're in theta still and you're waking out of that and you
Yeah, I think
know,
that's where you have a lot of visions too.
right, right.
Right.
So I'm not as apt to remember dreams unless they're just so, so vivid that I just have to remember them.
Okay.
I
Do you astro
definitely think.
travel?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Do you
I
astro travel?
I think I do because I go to alternate um I guess dimensions of myself where I'm living in different houses, different cities. Like, many times I'm living in Ohio and it's very elaborate and, I don't know. I do think I astro travel into other me's, I guess, and other because it's very, very detailed.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I feel the same
Because
way.
I actually, so I microdosed. I was microdosing quite a bit after I got off of all of my mood stabilizers and stuff. So I was just microdosing. So the other day went to go microdose. I was just doing it kind of more as a recreational thing just to, have a good time, like lift my spirits a little bit. But like as soon as it like, I don't know, these ones I just got them, so I hadn't tried these ones, and I didn't realize how strong they were, or also I haven't done it for a while. As soon as it hit me, my body was like, go lay down. I was like, dang it. I was like planning on cleaning my room and dancing and having like a good time and whatever. So I go lay down, and I am 98% sure I astral traveled. But it was like so crazy because so one thing about me is I have aphantasia, which I think a lot of people do. If you don't know what that is, it's like your mind's eye. You can't visualize in your waking awareness, or waking life. So anyways, in this I laid down and I was like, I want to listen to some music, but I was like, I want to listen to like some frequencies. Decided I wanted to meditate. Go on to YouTube. The first thing that was like higher self meditation, guided meditation. I was like, cool, I'll try this. Like it was the first video that popped up, so I just did that. Anyways, I ended up in this what I thought would be my dream state. It was like, I can't describe where I was at all. Um, but it was very familiar. I knew that I'd been there before. Have you ever had a dream and then like when you wake up, you're like, I've not had that dream, but I've been there before. Like it was just very familiar feeling.
Mhm.
It was like that. It was like I knew every like, but I had awareness. I was like in this state, and I was like, I have been here before. This is like so familiar to me, but I don't know even how to describe it, or um once I woke up, I actually forgot quite a bit of it. But there was a part where I was doing energy work, which I've never done energy work. I did get a Reiki class that I have yet to start, but I will. But it was so cool because it was like I realized like how that I could actually do it. And I think that that was like the point of my higher self, like showing me, hey, Marissa, like you are here to do energy work. But it was so cool. And I woke up so like, I didn't know if I was doing energy work on me because it didn't feel like I was doing energy work on me, but I felt it in my own body. So maybe I was, I don't know. Maybe it was like my higher self doing it on me because there was a being at the table, but I can't remember the being, but I was over there doing energy work on it. And it was so cool. And I just, it's, I don't even know how to explain how like it was just so empowering to like know that I could do that.
Mm. Yeah, I was just wondering because when I dream, it's just like little snippets of stuff
Hmm.
and it kind
Hmm.
of jumps around.
Oh
Is
yeah, me
what my
too.
dreams are like. But then when I have visions, it's like what Janelle says, it's usually right before I wake up. And it's just like, I know it's very vivid. And I know it's like a story that I'm watching or a movie I'm watching the whole way through. And then when I astro travel, I'm actually see myself in that movie and I can see what's going on and I know everything that's going on around me and then I'm doing something. So each one of them is different for me and I know which one I'm in, but I was just wondering if other people had the same thing going on with them.
Well, I've noticed that I have like I feel like I have like astral projection meetings with people. And it's very clear to me when I wake up that that was an actual like meeting on another plane, like people I've known in my past or something like that. Um, and then I have these other dreams. I've noticed a pattern where I feel like I'm going to work or going to school someplace, and I'm in these locations over and over again, like through the years. I'm like, I said, I've gotten to the point now, as soon as I wake up, I can recognize it. Oh, that was that place. I mean, I have no idea where it is. But then I also have these dreams, which I think, like we talked about a long time ago in an email, I had one of these just a couple nights ago where I'm like, wait a minute, everybody, I've got to get some sleep. Like I'm sleeping, but I know I'm not like resting and actually sleeping. Like I'm working instead. And I'm like, I really have to get some sleep. My eyes are burning. I really have to get some sleep. I have those. And then I have like the I've been working like maybe the last 6 months. I don't do it every night, but I do it occasionally. I'll give myself like this instruction that, like, for a period of time, I want to work on this or I want to know more about that. So I want my dreams to inform me. And it's interesting that you guys have all been talking about animals because over the past maybe 2 to 3 months, I have had like more animal dreams than ever before in my life. And I'm a real animal person, but normally I would have had like animal dreams about like animals I actually know or own, like my horses or, something like my cat is missing, in a dream or something like that. But I have had like way more animals in dreams, and some of them I feel like because of the instruction I gave myself to be more in tune with myself in other planets, let's say other lives and other planets, I started dreaming about like mixed species, like a bear that actually kind of was sort of like a cat, but sort of like a bear, and these kind of different kinds of things. But I feel like that's because I'm kind of working through this phase where I'm preparing myself to like actually um, see or interact with these beings in a more tangible way rather than just like telepathically, like I feel like I've been doing. So I feel like I'm kind of working my way into getting familiar with like other forms of life so that I wouldn't be like freaked out if it wasn't like an earth, like if I actually like saw them or it was more tangible in some way. So it's been interesting. I feel like I'm working pretty hard at night, to be honest.
Mhm.
Well, I was talking to Janelle. I've been talking to her because I've had the weirdest things. I've been watching about cryptids. And I'm like, why am I watching this stuff, about Dogman and werewolves and Bigfoot? And I'm just like, why am I watching this weird stuff? And I just keep thinking, Kim, you need to know this stuff. You need to know this stuff. It's coming up. You need to know this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, because the more I read and watch, I feel like the military's working with this or somebody in a lab's doing these things, and we're going to come across this stuff. And like you said, I don't want to be frozen there, if something comes up like that, I want to be able to run or protect myself, And I just keep thinking, why am I watching this? This is so crazy. And then, but for some reason, it feels real to me. So I'm just like, I have to do this. I have to watch this. I have to learn. I need to know how to protect myself against these things when they come up. And I'm just like, okay, And so it's just really crazy. But when I astro travel, I do the saving children. I rescue souls
Right.
and retrieve souls. And I know every time because I'm with Yeshua and I'm with Archangel Michael every time. And I go in to different places, dark places, caves, just different things to save these souls. So I'm pulling souls like you said at night, and I'm just like, hey, I need some sleep. I've done this 3 nights in a row. I need some sleep. And then all of a sudden they'll let me sleep for a week, and stuff. And then you have your visions, and all my visions have been of galactics and stuff. And I'm just like, why am I seeing this? Is this something I'm going to be coming across pretty soon? Are we going to start seeing galactics? Are we going to, So, I mean, everything I'm seeing is just, it feels like everything's coming together. Like all this stuff is going to be coming. So you need to know. It's like, you have to know. It's like my higher self saying, you have to know about this. You have to know about this. You have to know about this. And it seems wild, all this stuff that I'm learning.
Yeah.
Have
But
you heard of Gaia, like the streaming service?
Yeah, I have that.
There's one, I'll have to look it up and let you know what it is, but there's one that there's a guy who goes and interviews like all these people who worked for the government, and he like exposes like a lot of different stuff. And there are in, not, I think it was Arizona, that there's like, I mean, so much underground stuff, like literally underground stuff that
Yeah,
like
Dulce, you know, you're probably thinking of Emery Smith. He does
Emery
inter.
Smith, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was the Emery Smith, yes, but I watched it before he ended up being um the host of it. There was someone else. I think
Right.
he had like a
It was
beer or
David Wilcox.
yeah.
David Wilcox.
And I
Right.
watched this way before my awakening. It was, I used to just like, I've always been super interested in all that stuff, but yeah, it's cool to I feel like that's kind of what opened my mind up a little bit, was all that kind of stuff. So
Well,
yeah.
I feel like this stuff is coming and we
Oh
need to
yeah.
know so that we're not
Hmm.
scared about this. And,
Yes.
um, and then, I was just thinking, well, maybe if we're not scared of it, maybe telepathy, we could talk to these things and say, hey, I'm not here to take your, your food source or anything. I'm just walking through the woods and I'm leaving. So just, leave me alone and go on. I don't
Hmm.
know. It's just, I don't know what it is. And when I find out, I'll let you know. But it's just so weird right now, the things that are popping
Yeah.
up for me.
Well, that leads into a dream. I'll tell you this really quick. But it was such a wild one. I remember being like in a, it looks silver. I think I told you this, Kim, but it was like a silver and it was round. And I thought I was on a spaceship. This is the way I felt. And then when I looked down at myself, I had on a white lab coat. So it was like I was a scientist. And there was this cylinder, it was glass in this room, and it was like for their watch. So when I looked up, like at the very top, there was this ivy that was growing, and then the ivy drops down and it starts formulating this thing, right? And there was this leg that it was one leg. It had on a boot, and the leg built. It was bent like a chicken, so it went the opposite direction. So it bent this way. Well, opposite from our knee. So it wasn't human. And then the upper part of the body was like this masculine dude. He had blonde hair and like a Fabio is what it looked like. And so the top half was human, the bottom half was not. And then the glass opens up and this thing hops out, and it was like coming to us, and we were like in this semicircle, and this thing was coming and gets in your face, and I kept hearing, don't go into fear, don't go into fear, don't go into fear. And I'm like, what the heck? And this thing comes at me and it jumps at me, and I was like, okay. And it looked human and all the things, and then it jumps at me again. Well, somehow I got caught off guard after I was there for a few minutes, and I fell back and my leg goes up in the air, and his arm morphed into like a saw. And it reminded me of like a saw shark mouth, but it was sawing my ankle bone. That's what I woke up to. Like my leg was in the air and everything. And I was like, what the heck was that? And my first thought was, because I said, what was that about? And I heard, this is what happens when you mix human, animal, and plant DNA. And I was
Wow.
like, I don't know if I astro traveled to somewhere. I almost, because I was talking to Kim about this, I'm like, maybe I went underground in a tunnel somewhere in a lab where this actually, I don't know.
No, you're cutting out.
You're freezing up.
I don't know where it came from. I don't know exactly, but yeah, that was pretty scary. That was
Yeah.
early in my
Yeah.
awakening too.
I don't know if it's something that we're going to start seeing, all these experiments that they've been coming up with. I mean, everything's coming up to the head. So I'm thinking maybe they'll start cleaning out these things, and all of a sudden we pop up and we start seeing these things, and my higher self's like, I want you to be ready,
Yeah. Well, because we have to keep the vibration up. If they're gonna put things out to, fear
scare us.
monger,
Yeah.
that's gonna lower our vibration. We have to, yeah, we have to keep it up for the collective. Definitely.
And
No,
we have to remember that, everything's made from source. So, I mean, it might not have like a soul like we do, but it's still part of source. So
Mhm.
maybe there's something that we can do, send it back to source, or I don't know. I don't know. I'm just at a loss right now. I'm just dabbling in this stuff right now.
I do think they're becoming more prevalent. They're um at I don't want to sound too woo woo-ish, but the veil is a lot thinner. Our um frequency is such that we can see and hear and understand things that we couldn't 50 years ago. And so I do think that we will start to see more and more and more. And cryptids can be several different things, one of which, back to my point, is they can be manifested. You can, as the
Mm.
collective on the planet, we can manifest different cryptids that come out of our consciousness, kind of similar to um, like when you manifest different energies like a haunting or whatever in your home. It may not necessarily be a ghost or a past living or demonic or anything. It may just be the energy of the house manifested energy source. um but I do
Something like a
think that,
poltergeist is what
like
you're
a
talking about.
poltergeist, but I feel strongly that some cryptids have been left here. They came from other places. They were made in, similar to like a clone or factory almost, and they were sent here. And but then others are coming from our consciousness. And but whatever that may be, we have the ability to see all of the above now more than any time in history, because where we are far more light now than we are darkness. So that means that we have deeper understanding of spiritual things. We can see more, we can do more, we can do energy work, Reiki, whatever. And we're light workers, and we can see these things. We can do it.
But we have to also know that sometimes it's like witchcraft and stuff like that,
It is. It
that
is.
that they've done curses and witchcraft, and these people, create these things too
Mm-hmm.
from energy, because they can do it
Right.
from energy.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
also that kind of saying with like we manifest it ourselves, I also think that that comes like let's say like I was in a bad relationship, and my negative mindset that I was in at that time, there was so much focus and concentration on that energy that I think that it can form like a like entire
Hmm.
being, and or an entity that will latch onto you until you're able to release it to the light. Um,
Or
and
transmute it with
or
that.
Right.
transmute it.
Transmute it. So because energy never dies, it's
Yeah,
better to transmute it. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, but back to the Anne, I was thinking about Anne and her experiences she had, and it reminds me of when I get tired and I tell them to leave me alone, because since I was a kid, of course, I was an adult before I realized what I was doing, but I've always gone to like an Arcturian ship at night in my sleep and I work. And what Anne was stating almost sounded just like being on a Arcturian ship, where because the Arcturian ship is a healing ship. It's it welcomes all beings, all life. It it has classes. You learn. You get your PhD there. You know, and so everything that I just wanted to remind everybody that what Anne was doing is they're preparing her, and for something else that's coming up and how important that is, that she's actually seeing other beings, not that they're, I almost see them as, while she was talking, I kind of heard New Earth, that they're equipping her with everything she needs for the New Earth, and that she's New Earth, doing her New Earth learning at night. So I think that's another way that our dreams that we're doing is we're getting our PhD in something.
I think I actually heard a message a while back about getting, I mean, what you were saying, it was like I was getting a PhD. I think I actually heard those exact words.
Oh gosh.
Imagine that. And Auntie Janelle is saying it.
I gotta say this thing about these animal forms I've been seeing, none of them have been scary. In fact, they've been like helpful. Like you'd think like you would be like nervous about like a big bear. But in this one dream, I've had two dreams with bears recently. I've never had a particular connection with bears. So it was like, this is a new thing. But this other one was like a combination kind of a bear and like a cat or something combo. But it was like helpful in saving me and working with me. All the animals I've seen have either been like just doing their thing like nearby in a non-threatening way. So that's what I found particularly interesting. There haven't been any like scary animals at all. I mean, I've even been processing it like while I'm dreaming it in a weird way. Like I'm aware that I'm seeing something that isn't like familiar. And I'm like kind of wondering about like, well, this is really interesting that this bear's like, you know, like right here next to me, and I'm not scared.
So do
Things
you
like
use
that.
like telepathy to talk to the bear in your dreams?
It's more like,
And
no,
knowing?
it's really more like I separated myself out and thought about it. Like thought about, it's more like I've just always had the strong connection with animals. So it's more like I would have in my waking life, like they're just normal and we're close and we kind of communicate telepathically in a way. Like they're just like around me and part of me, sort of part of my like world. So in the dream, they're like that too. Like the other night, there was one with three kind of puma-sized cats in it, and they were just kind of like, playing in there. They weren't like really interacting with me, but I was aware that they weren't like, it was abnormal to have like big cats like just hanging out, you know what I mean? And then the one where it was with the bears, I can't remember that now. It was like at least a month ago. But what I remember about it was that the bear was this kind of bear cat combination. I think there was like two or three of them in this particular dream. They were like on the bed, like sleeping on your feet or something, but it was like it was supposedly helping me. Sorry, the dog's gonna bark now. I have to mute. But anyway, yeah, they've just none of the point I want to make is they've been curious but completely non-threatening or helpful.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just wanted to recognize Janelle for the PhD statement because I did actually hear that in one of these experiences.
She's always hitting stuff right on the head. Janelle
I know.
does.
That is awesome. Yeah. Well, we have been talking for a while. If we want to stay on after, I'm going to go ahead and push stop. So this will be in of the YouTube video that's going to go up. So thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed and learned something on this. Thank you all for being here and being part of this. All things woo on dreams, because it's been a wild one, and I'm sure we can go on and on and on. So I want to thank you again for all being here. And I'm going to end.